Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I am Tom.
It's our literature unit, and we've been spending the last couple of programs on a novel called Rainbow Boys. It's a young adult novel, a coming-of-age story. It just focuses on three school friends. They're seniors in high school, and they're trying to figure out who they are. What's their identity? What's their sexual orientation? And we've got Nelson, who's already come out of the closet. He has announced who he is. His family supports him. We've got Kyle, who's shy, he's a swimmer. He's also intelligent, and he feels deep inside that he's probably gay, but he hasn't told anybody. He's fearful of that. And then we've got Jason, who's really kind of the protagonist. I think he's the lead in the story. He's a star basketball player. He has it all. He even had a beautiful girlfriend to start the novel and starts wondering whether he might be gay. So we're going to talk today about the author of this book and a couple of others that he followed up with, Alex Sanchez, and also some of the themes.
Okay, so let's get to it. Let's listen to our entire article read from top to bottom.
Alex Sanchez, known for his LGBTQ+ young adult novels, draws inspiration from his experiences as a gay man and youth counselor. His 2001 novel, Rainbow Boys, quickly became a landmark in young adult literature by depicting authentic teenage experiences and addressing often overlooked LGBTQ+ themes. Encouraged by its success, Sanchez wrote two sequels, Rainbow High and Rainbow Road, to further explore his characters' lives. In Rainbow Boys, the central theme revolves around the challenges of LGBTQ+ teenagers. Jason struggles with coming out because he's afraid of rejection from his family and friends. Kyle, who comes out midway through the novel, deals with his parents' complex reactions and must assert that his orientation is inherent. Nelson, despite facing direct bullying and homophobia, remains hopeful that increased dialogue will lead to acceptance from his teachers and classmates. The novel also highlights the importance of safe sex practices through Nelson's storyline, drawing attention to the necessity of protective measures. Teenage self-discovery is another primary theme. Adolescents crave peer approval and dread being seen as different. The book's three protagonists have unique personalities and take different paths, which demonstrates that there is no right way to be oneself. The narrative also suggests that the power of friendship is crucial, and that there is always someone ready to offer love and support. Through his friendships with Kyle and Nelson, Jason ultimately discovers that genuine bravery involves not only confronting opposition, but also embracing his true identity. By the novel's conclusion, each character has undergone significant growth and found confidence. Hopefully, readers can draw inspiration from their journeys to embrace love, courage, and their own unique identity.
Okay, everybody, it's time for us to talk about day 3. We're talking about the author in today's program. His name is Alex Sanchez. Some people might say Sanchez. It depends on how he wants it pronounced. That's a Spanish name. I believe the main character of the novel also has a Spanish name. What is it? Jason Carrillo.
Carrillo.
If you're speaking Espanol, but if you're speaking English, you'll probably say Carrillo, and he probably won't mind too much about that. But in any case, the author of this novel is a man by the name of Alex Sanchez, and he's known for his LGBTQ+ young adult novels, and he draws inspiration from his experiences as a gay man and youth counselor. Okay, so a lot of times when authors write novels, sometimes they use their own experiences as ideas for the story. Maybe the story isn't exactly their story, but there are elements or themes from things from the author's life. And so he gets inspiration or he gets ideas from his experiences as a gay man. He's gay himself. He probably had similar experiences in high school with bullying and talking with other people about this. And he was also a youth counselor. That's somebody who helps people with their problems. If you're a youth counselor, you're helping young people cope with various problems. Maybe they're having problems with school, with their classes, with their classmates, with their parents, their teachers, or whatever. So he helps them work through their problems.
That's right. So his 2001 novel called Rainbow Boys quickly became a landmark in young adult literature. It was probably pretty different for back then, 2001. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of this kind of literature out there. So it was 2001 that it was first published. If something's a landmark, it's pretty important. It's something that people notice. I would say a very popular or visible landmark in Taipei is Taipei 101. Everybody knows what it is. And when I get lost at night, I kind of get turned around when the sun goes down. At night, I look for 101 to kind of see where I am. Am I going east or west or south? You know, that's a landmark. It could be a feature of a landscape or a town. But here, it became a landmark in young adult literature. It was something that kind of stood out at the time because there was not enough literature and not very much literature about the gay experience.
Yeah, it was remarkable, and it led to a big change, especially in young adult literature. A friend of mine in university recommended a book called The Snow Leopard, and he said, yeah, that's a landmark book, at least according to him. He thought it was very influential, and it changed people's ideas about literature. I haven't actually read the book myself because it's a bit too long, and I know I can't really read books that are over maybe 300 pages because I keep losing my attention. But in any case here, this is a landmark book in young adult literature, and it depicted authentic teenage experiences, and it addressed often overlooked LGBTQ plus themes. Okay, so these are the reasons why the book was considered important, why it was a landmark book in this particular genre, because it depicted or described authentic teenage experiences. If something's authentic, it's real, it's not fake, it's not made up. Sometimes people try to write stories, but they really don't know what they're talking about because they never really experienced these things. Well, Alex did. He was a gay man, or he is a gay man, so he knows about these things. So it's authentic, it's real, you can believe it.
We often talk about different restaurants, whether they're authentic food or not. I know the first time I went to a Mexican food restaurant in Taiwan, I thought, well, this isn't really very authentic. We often judge whether something is genuine or not based on our feelings about whether it's done or something is presented in a traditional way. But you could also say this is authentic leather, genuine leather. You could use it that way too. So if someone's authentic, they're being real, they're not pretending to be someone they're not. We use that as well.
Right. I can imagine, of course, lots of people from Taiwan traveling overseas and going to Chinese restaurants in the U.S. or Europe or whatever. And, of course, they're going to immediately say, ugh, this stuff is not authentic. This is not the real thing. And, indeed, we're talking about real teenage experiences being gay. And he also used this novel to address these overlooked themes of the LGBTQ plus community. So, yes, indeed. We consider it overlooked because people don't really talk about it. These people are a minority, or people in this group are a minority. They're not the majority of people. So, of course, lots of people don't really talk about them too much. And this book helped open a dialogue.
So, encouraged by its success, the success of his original novel, Rainbow Boys, Sanchez wrote 2 sequels, Rainbow High and Rainbow Road, to further explore his characters' lives. So if you've got a sequel, it's something that comes after the first one. We often use this to talk about movies. For example, Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, something like that, where you know that the number 2 movie that comes out is called the sequel, right? Sequels. So it could be a sequel of a book that was published first. It could be a movie. Usually it's either a movie or a book, but he had 2 more books to follow that also had the same characters within those books.
Right, okay. And of course, you could try those books yourselves if you're interested in the works by Alex Sanchez. And here in the next paragraph it says, in Rainbow Boys, the first book of this trilogy, the central theme revolves around the challenges of LGBTQ plus teenagers. Okay, so that's the central theme or the central idea. It revolves around this certain thing. To revolve around something usually means to go in circles around something. When I was a kid, of course, we were learning astronomy and we said, oh, the moon revolves around the earth and the earth revolves around the sun. So, of course, that means the moon goes around the earth, it orbits the earth, and the earth orbits the sun. It goes around the sun. It revolves around the sun. So in this particular case, it just means it talks about these things. That's its central theme.
Or you could say someone's life revolves around their hobbies or revolves around their favorite pop star. Something that really gets their attention and they're repeatedly involved with looking at that one thing. So, yeah, the central theme revolves around the challenges of these teenagers. So Jason struggles with coming out because he's afraid of rejection from his family and friends. Rejection, of course, is when someone says, I don't like you. I don't want to be around you. And they dismiss you, maybe because they don't like you or they don't agree with you. Maybe they feel that you're not appropriate or you just aren't someone that they can kind of, groove with. They don't really feel like they know who you are. You're not their kind of person. So he's afraid of rejection. Rejection is the noun form of the word. The verb is to reject somebody, to say no thanks. I don't prefer to be friends with you. And Jason is afraid of coming out because remember, he's afraid of rejection from his family and friends and how it's going to impact his reputation and his future. He's kind of already planned out his future. He's been this really successful basketball star, and he's got a cute girlfriend at the beginning of the first novel, and he's popular. He feels like if he comes out and expresses some of his desires, hidden desires at least at this point, that it will affect his future.
Indeed. So again, the word rejection, of course, reminds me of when I was coming of age myself and I wanted to ask girls out for dates, but I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid they would say no. And that's the case here with Jason. He's afraid of rejection. People won't accept him. They won't say yes, basically. And Kyle comes out midway through the novel, and he deals with his parents' complex reactions, and he must assert that his orientation is inherent. Okay, so this happens halfway through the book. Jason's coming out happens toward the end of the book, but here Kyle, the swimmer, the shy swimmer, pretty much knows that he's gay, so he comes out halfway through the novel, and of course his family's going to have lots of different reactions to that. Maybe one of his parents is supportive, maybe the other one is, how could that be? My fine young son has turned out gay. What did we do wrong? But he needs to assert his orientation. He needs to declare that he's really gay. It's inherent, okay, which means he was born with it. He hasn't been influenced in a bad way by other people. He was born with this particular tendency or this particular orientation.
You can inherit something from your parents, inherit their blue eyes, brown hair. Inherent means it's part of your natural being. It's who you are. So Nelson, despite facing direct bullying and homophobia, remains hopeful that increased dialogue will lead to acceptance from his teachers and classmates. Remember, at the end of the book, it's Nelson, I think, that sets up that alliance between the gay and straight students so that they can have they can foster communication and understanding between them. Nelson's been living this life for a long time, and he's also faced bullying and being attacked by others. He was beaten up, and Jason saved him at one point. But he's hopeful that if people just understand where they're coming from and how he feels about these things, that things will become better for him, and it will lead to acceptance from his teachers and classmates.
Okay, that brings us to the midway point in our lesson for today. We're halfway through, but please stay tuned. We'll be right back after we hear from our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone， 我是 Patrick 老师，今天讲解的是4月25号 Unit14。好，这是第3天的课文内容。那彩虹男孩这个单元所介绍的是关于3个男生、高中生他们性别认同的议题。这本小说 Rainbow Boys 是在2001年出版的，作者是 Alex Sanchez， 他本身就是男同志，也辅导过很多青少年。根据他自己的人生还有职业的经验，透过小说呈现同志青少年所经历的自我探索、性别认同这些心路历程，清楚地描绘出诚实面对自我所能产生的力量还有自由。好，那我们一起来看学习重点吧。我们看到第一段第一个句子 Alex Sanchez， 那就是这本书它的作者。好 draws inspiration from， 那他的灵感来自于什么？就是他自己过去的经验。好，再来第2个句子，请同学看到，好，2001年出版这本小说之后呢，这本书 became a landmark in young adult literature。所以呢，在这个等于是青年的文学当中，青少年文学当中呢，变成非常有代表性的一部作品。landmark 这里指的当然不是坐标，而是相当有代表性的作品。那怎么样会成为代表作呢？因为 depicting authentic teenage experiences， 因为这本小说它所描绘的是真实的，因为它讲的由于他自己受到过去人生经验的启发嘛，所以既然是自己的经验，当然很多都是真实的 authentic teenage experiences， 真实的青少年的经验。那而且呢，这本小说也去处理 addressing， 处理加上什么？后面的受指是 themes， 它处理的是什么样子的议题啊？受到忽略的 LGBTQ+ 这方面的议题 overlooked， 请同学画起来，受忽视的。好，再来请同学看到第3个句子，这里呢是分词构句 Sanchez 受到这本小说成功的鼓舞，因为第一本小说卖得很好，所以他进一步的呢再去探索这些主人翁的生活。再来我们看到第2段第一个句子，请同学呢把这个主要动词画起来。 Rainbow Boys 这本小说它的主旨围绕在 revolves around， 就围绕在这些 LGBTQ+ 这些青少年他们所面临的挑战。再接着请看第2段第3个句子 Kyle， 他在小说情节发展到一半的时候呢，等于说他就出柜了。好，那当然他的爸爸妈妈有各式各样的反应呢。Kyle must assert that， 好 assert 其实就是坚定的表明什么。好，他要表明说呢，其实他自己的性倾向是天生的。好，那下面呢，当然讲的就是 Nelson 另外一个人物了。那他其实早早就出柜了，算是校园里面公开出柜的。可是呢，要出柜付出的代价就是会受到一些人的霸凌。那甚至于呢，有些人呢是非常恐同的 ，homophobia 指的就是恐同。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson for today. Remember, Nelson had to face direct bullying and homophobia. That just means people are scared of homosexuals, just like xenophobia or xenophobia means you're afraid of foreigners. And, of course, he wants to be accepted by his teachers and classmates. And the novel also highlights or stresses the importance of safe sex practices through Nelson's storyline, drawing attention to the necessity of protective measures. A measure is an action you take in order to have a good result. So, of course, you need to take protective measures if you're going to work at a construction site, for example. It's going to be quite dangerous there, so you need to wear the proper equipment and the proper helmets and things like that. You need to take safety measures or precautions, and this happens also if you're having sex.
Now, it's interesting because we usually use measure as a verb, right? To see how big, long, wide, tall something is. But these are actually actions that you take in order to make sure that something's okay. So you can take a precautionary measure, a plan of action to make sure something is going to be okay. Precautionary, maybe you're fearing that there's a risk in the future, and so you want to plan in advance. But it's just some sort of action that you take to ensure something else happens. So a measure. But again, notice here it's a noun, it's not a verb. It's something very different. Another way we use this word measure as a noun is to talk about a piece of legislation, a legislative bill that is passed in your government. That's also a measure. Oh, this measure passed by a vote of 48 to 50, something like that. So we use those in different ways, but remember, this is not the verb, it's the noun.
So the first thing we're talking about is the issues that people in high school face around LGBTQ issues or concerns. And teenage self-discovery is another primary theme. So teenage self-discovery is open to anybody, whether they're straight or gay or whatever. We have to figure out who we are when we're going through puberty, when we're becoming adults. Everybody goes through this. I think even adults older than 40 or 50 years old are still having problems with self-discovery. They might have that dreaded midlife crisis. We'll talk about that some other time. But adolescents crave peer approval and dread being seen as different. So an adolescent, of course, is somebody who is making the transition from being a child to an adult, usually a teenager more or less. And an adolescent craves peer approval, and they are really afraid of being seen as different. So if you crave something, you really want that thing. And yes, you want to be approved of or accepted by your peers, by people in your same group, your classmates, etc., people your same age. But you're very afraid of being different. You dread that. You're very scared of something. Like, for example, I hate crowds, so I dread having to go watch the fireworks on New Year's Eve because there are so many people there. I really dread going there.
Now, remember, we use dread as a verb to talk about some event in the future. I dread going to the dentist. I dread failing the test because I didn't study enough last night. So you dread something. You're looking towards something with a lot of worry, maybe apprehension, fear, as Tom said. You might fear something. So they dread being seen as different. They kind of don't want to stick out. They want to just kind of blend in with the crowd. No one likes to be seen as being different or weird. So, although that's changing nowadays, Tom. Nowadays, I think we could say it's changing. Kids want to be different, and they do things to stand out and to be different. So, things are changing that way too. So, as life moves on, we just got to stay current with what society's all about. This book's got 3 protagonists. You'll see this word protagonist when you're talking about literature or a movie or even a drama on stage. Protagonist is the lead character, and it's one of the major characters, like I said, in a movie, a novel, a play that's on stage. The antagonist is the person that's against them. That's the usually the bad guy, but not always. Sometimes the protagonist is evil too. So you need to look and see what their characters are like. But it's the main figure or the main figures in some sort of situation.
And we've got 3 protagonists in our featured novel. We've got Jason, Nelson, and Kyle, and they all have unique personalities, and they take different paths. Okay, so they're different people in terms of their personality. Maybe they're outgoing, maybe they're kind of shy or whatever. Those are different kinds of personalities. Everybody is unique. Everybody is special. And this demonstrates that there is no right way to be oneself. So there are many different ways to be yourself. As we can tell on the internet, lots of people are trying to be different from other people, to stand out, to get a lot of likes or whatever. But remember, bullying is still very much alive, so be careful of that. But there's no correct way to be oneself. You have different avenues to express yourself and to establish your personality.
So the narrative, which just means the story, also suggests that the power of friendship is crucial. That will never change. I think friendship is always going to be important. That's what crucial means, vital, very, very important. And there is always someone ready to offer love and support. It might not be who you thought was going to be supportive either. Sometimes people that you probably judged poorly or wrongly turn out to be the most supportive in some of the personal goals that you set for yourself. So through his friendships with Kyle and Nelson, Jason ultimately, or finally, at the end of the book, discovers that genuine bravery involves not only confronting opposition, but also embracing your true identity. Opposition, or it can be people, or it can be things that are against you. Opposition, things that definitely are against whatever you stand for. So opposition, yeah, we have opposition in everything in life. Even if you have a good goal, you could have somebody who's opposing you and getting in your way of succeeding. That's opposition too.
I remember a couple years ago, there was a plebiscite, some kind of vote, and a lot of people were opposed to gay marriage. There was a lot of opposition to that, but it's still legal here in Taiwan. And the opposition also can be the political party that is not in power at the particular moment. Okay, by the novel's conclusion, by the time the novel ends, each character has undergone significant growth and found confidence. So that's what happens in a novel. People change. So you undergo this growth, or you undergo a lot of change. To undergo just means something happens to you. You pass through the experience. You have this experience. And yes, they grow up and they become more mature, and they actually are ready for adulthood.
That's right. So undergone is the past tense form, right? Underwent. But here we're going to talk about the present tense being undergo. So you undergo surgery, you undergo a trial. So you go through something, a process of something. So they underwent significant growth and found confidence. We sometimes call this the hero's journey in literature. You know, the book starts out a certain way, or the movie starts out a certain way, and somebody goes through a lot of opposition and resistance. And then at the end, hopefully they've grown and changed and become better. That's the hero's journey.
And they have found confidence. They're no longer ashamed of who they are. Hopefully, readers can draw inspiration from their journeys to embrace love, courage, and their own unique identity. So this might be a book for you. You don't have to necessarily be gay to appreciate this book. It does focus on the theme of going through change, you know, the coming of age sort of theme there. So you could draw inspiration from the journeys that these three guys make and how they change from the beginning of the novel to the end of the novel. And yes, this all involves love and courage and support, and also establishing your own unique identity. Hopefully you can find out who you are. That brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
好，那我们接着看第二段最后一个句子哦。那这本小说其实还强调了一个重点，什么样的重点呢？就是不论你到底是喜欢同性或者异性，小说要强调的就是性行为本身一定要安全。所以讲到 the importance of safe sex practices。那由于呢 Nelson 他当时跟这个不认识的人发生了性行为，他是没有任何保护措施，所以后来才很担心自己是否感染 HIV 嘛。所以小说 highlight the importance of， 请同学把它画起来，强调了什么的重要性。好，那后面逗点之后呢是分词构句。那由于小说呢它强调这个性行为安全措施的重要性，所以也让读者呢会注意到，会特别的去注意性行为是否安全，有没有采取保护措施。再来请同学呢看到第三段，第一句开宗明义就让我们知道，整本小说讲的不只是性别认同而已，也讲到青少年的 self-discovery， 自我的发现，自我的探索。好，我们看到第二个句子 adolescence， 那在青春期的这些青少年呢 crave peer approval， crave 这个字呢其实就是极度的渴望想要，他们需要的是同侪的认同 peer approval。 and dread being seen as different. 那他们很怕呢被别人看作是与众不同。dread 就是害怕。好，那再来，请同学看到第5个句子了。好，第3段的最后一个句子。那我们看到 Jason， 他原本呢是篮球明星嘛，有女朋友嘛，可是呢后来慢慢的发现自己其实是对同性呢会特别的去注意。那他和 Kyle 和 Nelson 呢成为朋友之后，那最后他就发现其实他必须要勇敢面对自己。 Genuine bravery， 真实的勇敢 involves not only confronting opposition， 其实不只是呢要去直接去面对别人的反对 confronting opposition， 还有呢but also embracing his true identity. Embrace 一般而言我们会说是拥抱，这里指的呢当然就是接受embracing his true identity， 好，接受自己真实的身份。好，最后一段请同学看到第一句 By the novel's conclusion， 那小说到了结尾 Each character has undergone significant growth， 这里 undergo growth 请同学画起来，在原型是 undergo 经历那所以这些人物呢他们其实都经历过一段成长了。好，以上就是我们针对这篇文章第3天课文内容所做的中文讲解。 See you next time.
Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us, and please join us again next time for another edition of our program. Enjoy your reading. If you choose to read this novel, you might really enjoy it. And also check out our content on YouTube and Facebook. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.